So this is the new iPhone 14 Pro Max. I don't really cover many Apple products on this channel. However, for Christmas, my wife and I decided to get the new 14 Pro Max for my mother as an early Christmas present. And with that said, I asked my mother if I can review the phone for about a month, and of course, she said yes. So I've been spending the past month with the new iPhone 14 Pro Max, and I kind of wanted to share my thoughts, the pros and cons, what I like, what I don't like, and kind of give you guys a little review of the iPhone 14 Pro Max coming from a Samsung user. So without wasting any time, let's get into it. Yo, what is up guys? Aaron here. Before we get started, I just want to say Happy New Year's to everyone out there. Whether you had an awesome 2022 or a little bit of a down year, I hope everyone is striving to get better, and I hope everyone is looking forward to an awesome 2023. So first, I just want to point out that I'm no stranger when it comes to iPhones. I currently own the iPhone 12 as well as my S22 Ultra. My first ever iPhone was the iPhone 4. With that said, it is just the basic iPhone 12 and the experience is nowhere near the caliber of the iPhone 14 Pro Max. So before I share my thoughts, I want to first thank our partner for today's video, Mint Mobile. You might be somewhat familiar with Mint Mobile if you've seen those ads from Ryan Reynolds, but if you haven't, then let me explain. So Mint Mobile provides premium wireless service without sacrificing speed, data, or coverage, all for as low as $15 a month. I'm serious, $15 a month. It's kind of crazy, right? So I've been using Mint Mobile for quite a while now, just to see how it is, what's all the buzz about, but mainly just to save money. And all I can say is that I wish I knew about it sooner. From texting to calling, internet browsing, whatever it may be, I couldn't even tell the difference between Mint Mobile and my previous provider. So Mint Mobile is built on the nation's largest 5G network, and at such a low cost, I saved a good amount of money which I used on food, groceries, gas, electricity bills, all the necessities that I needed. The switch is super quick and easy. You can choose to keep your old number or get a new number, whether you want a physical SIM card or an eSIM card. You can activate your device from the comfort of your home in a matter of minutes. So Mint Mobile provides nationwide unlimited talk and text, lightning fast 5G, free mobile hotspot, and they have affordable family plans as well. Everything you need for as low as $15 a month. There's honestly no reason to be overpaying for your phone bills when you can get the same premium service plus save a lot of money by switching to Mint Mobile. So if you want to start saving money today, I highly suggest you guys check out Mint Mobile by clicking the link in the description below. And as an added bonus, if you guys purchase a 3-month plan anywhere between now, the time of making this video, till January 15th, which is about a week away, so make sure you guys get on it. You get a 3 additional months free, and that goes for any plan you choose to go with. So a huge thank you to Mint Mobile, our partner for today's video. Make sure you guys check out the link below and start saving money on your phone bills today. Alright guys, so first let's start with some of my initial impressions, and that would be the design and the build quality. So I've been very impressed by the way this phone looks, the way it feels. I've just been really impressed with the overall design and the build quality. And honestly, I can't tell you if it's a significant upgrade from the iPhone 13 Pro Max since I never owned one, but they do look very similar, so I assume that the build quality is pretty similar as well. I love the matte finish on this phone. My S22 Ultra also has a frozen white matte finish, but this deep purple on the iPhone 14 Pro Max is fire. It has a polished stainless steel frame, which gives it a nice premium feel to it, and I mean, it really does feel nice. It is a fingerprint magnet, however, but if you're running a case on it, then it shouldn't be an issue. I also want to point out that this phone is pretty thick, but it is more narrow in width, so whether you have big hands or small hands, I don't think anyone should have an issue using this phone with one hand. Except maybe the weight might be an issue, but we'll get to that later. Overall, I love the way this phone looks. I love the way it feels in my hands, especially coming from the S22 Ultra, which is a much wider phone due to the S Pen. The iPhone 14 Pro Max was a breath of fresh air. Overall, I've just been genuinely impressed with the overall design and build quality of this phone. Another feature I've been enjoying on the iPhone 14 Pro Max is the sharper edges. Although I do own both the iPhone 12 and the S22 Ultra, I've always preferred the sharper edges you find on the iPhones rather than the rounded ones you'll find in the Galaxy lineup. Me personally, I'm just not a huge fan of the curved edge panels, but they were cool at first, but not so much anymore. But who knows what Samsung will do in the future. This is not taking anything away from the Z Fold or the Z Flip. Those are fantastic phones, but I'm hoping Samsung will make some changes to the S lineup in the future. Next, I want to talk about the display. And if you're in a pickle, whether you want the iPhone 14 Pro or the Pro Max, me personally, I'd opt for the 14 Pro Max. I mean, you're talking about a modest 6.1-inch display to a 6.7-inch display, which is a pretty big difference. Again, this is just personal preference. Having owned the S22 Ultra, which has a 6.8-inch display, the iPhone 14 Pro Max is the route that I would take. Now, I feel like Apple has come a long way when it comes to the display. Samsung has always been notorious when it comes to displays, whether it's a Samsung TV, tablet, or smartphones. Their displays have always been top-notch. With that said, the screen on the iPhone 14 Pro Max is super impressive and it's one of my favorite features about this phone. A 6.7-inch OLED display, just a tad bit smaller than the S22 Ultra, but nothing I really noticed. It also has a 120Hz display, so you get that buttery smooth experience, really nice colors and saturation, and like I said, it's one of the main key features that made me really enjoy using this phone. Next, I want to talk about the camera, which seems to be the biggest discussion each and every year with all these new flagships. And I think it's great, especially for us consumers, that all these companies are constantly competing against each other, trying to get better each and every year. Now, the camera on the iPhone 14 Pro Max is outstanding. I can't tell you if it's better than the one on the S22 Ultra, but I will be doing a comparison in the future, which you don't want to miss. So if you're new here, please subscribe to the channel by clicking that thing down there and that thing down there. All right, let's move on. So the main camera on the iPhone 14 Pro Max is a 48 megapixel wide-angle lens and is saddled with a 12 megapixel ultra-wide lens and a 12 megapixel telephoto lens. Now, I've said this before in the past, don't let the megapixel numbers fool you. Just because the S22 Ultra has more megapixels than the iPhone 14 Pro Max doesn't necessarily make it a better camera. Yes, the number of megapixels do matter since it dictates how detailed the photo will be, but there are things like sensor size, pixel size, the type of lens you're using, which all play a huge factor when it comes to the quality of your photo. Now with that said, here's some photos that I took with the new iPhone 14 Pro Max. And one thing that really stood out to me is the colors. I apologize, the weather in San Diego hasn't been all that great, which is kind of ironic, but I digress. The colors the iPhone 14 Pro Max produces just feels super natural to me, which is what I prefer in my camera. With apps such as Instagram, where you can add filters, and other apps where you can edit photos in post, neutral colors in general just gives you the freedom and additional space to work with. Whether it's the brightness, contrast, saturation, neutral colors just makes all that much easier to edit. This is just my personal preference, by the way. Some people don't like editing in post. Some just want to snap and go without going through any of that hassle. And so the colors that it produces is what I really liked about this camera. Some may not agree, but that's the whole beauty of having multiple flagships out there so that us consumers have a choice. Now here's a video shot with the main camera at 4K at 24 frames per second. And I think the quality looks outstanding, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Next, I want to talk about the performance. This is actually the first iPhone with the 4nm processor. Some may say that it's a 5nm overclocked. Either way, it is very impressive. Gaming has been super smooth, no lag or stuttering with whatever task I'm doing. One reason that makes this chip such a beast is the efficiency. You get a huge boost in performance while increased power savings at the same time, and to me, that is a huge deal, which brings me to my next point, and that's the battery. When you look at the battery on the iPhone 14 Pro Max, it's actually on the smaller side when you're comparing it to other flagships. A 4,323 milliamp battery on the iPhone 14 Pro Max, a 5,000 milliamp battery on the S22 Ultra, and again, a 5,000 milliamp battery on the Pixel 7 Pro. Despite having a smaller battery, I can tell a pretty big difference compared to my S22 Ultra when it comes to battery performance. There are times when I set the screen to the brightest setting and just watch YouTube videos for hours, and I'd wait to see how much of a percentage that it would drop, and it was barely moving. Again, this is just from my 1 month experience. That could change in the future, but overall, the battery life on this has been superb. Overall, I've been very impressed with the iPhone 14 Pro Max. The new dynamic island feature as well, I thought was a really cool idea and creative. Although it's not groundbreaking by any means, but I still found it very fun. It kind of works like a notification bar or a shortcut bar, which links to certain apps such as phone calls, Spotify, navigation, and etc. The only gripe that I have with this feature is that it's only available on the Pro models. I mean, come on, Apple. I personally feel like this feature should be available on all models. Again, like I said, it is not groundbreaking by any means, so don't let this feature stir you away from getting the regular iPhone 14 or the iPhone 14 Plus. So for every positive, there's a negative. I mean, there has to be some type of balance, right? And one negative I have about this phone is the weight. A whopping 240 grams in weight. The S22 Ultra, which has a built-in S Pen, weighs about 10 grams less than the iPhone 14 Pro Max. And I thought the S22 Ultra was heavy. I constantly found myself carrying this phone by hand more often than putting it in my pocket because I can just feel the weight just pulling my pants down. So weight is just one issue that I have with the phone. Another issue that I found somewhat alarming is the camera bump. The camera bump on the iPhone 14 Pro Max is huge. I've heard some stories where people would buy cases for the iPhone 14 Pro Max and the camera bump is so large that it wouldn't even sit flush for some cases. This is actually one of the first things I've noticed on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. I thought the camera bump on the S22 Ultra was huge, but the iPhone 14 Pro just kind of took it to the next level. Another con I have is the charging speed. The iPhone 14 Pro Max supports up to 27 watts of charging speed, which is still relatively quick, but when the S22 Ultra came out way before the iPhone 14 Pro Max and has a maximum charging speed of 45 watts, the iPhone 14 Pro Max charging speed just seems a bit underwhelming. Again, this is not a deal breaker. 27 watts is still relatively fast, but just something to note. The last issue I want to mention is the price. And I'll be honest, when the S22 Ultra first came out last year, I thought it was overpriced. But now, the iPhone 14 Pro Max, which is released 6 months later, with less RAM, no built-in S Pen, slower charging speed, at a premium price tag, especially late in 2022 or even early 2023, it is hard to justify the price of this phone when the new S23 Ultra is right around the corner as well. It just feels like the iPhone is just that one friend that's always late to the party. While everyone's at this level, that late friend is trying to catch up and get onto that level as well. And I say that because it puts consumers in a very awkward situation. Should I get this phone now? Or what, if I wait a little bit, this company's gonna come out with that phone, should I get that? And so on. But if price is not an issue, then of course all of this is irrelevant and it just becomes another apple versus oranges type of thing. Get it? Apples versus oranges. Anyways guys, that was my review of the iPhone 14 Pro Max as a Samsung user. I hope you guys found this video helpful. And if you guys do currently own the iPhone 14 Pro Max, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Anyways guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video as well. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.